Thomas Green here with Ethical Marketing Service. On the episode today, we have Dr. Axa Yox. Dr. Yox, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction and also thank you for inviting me. Let's do this fun.
My pleasure. Would you like to take a moment and tell the audience a bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes. So I was in science for over 15 years and I was quite successful. I did even 12 inventions. I did my PhD in microbiology with the focus on genetics. And then once I did the inventions, I decided that I'm ready for my own company, but I failed miserably. And going step by step, changing and learning, because once you come from science and you take all what you learn from science and you try to apply in life, it's not very easy. It's very different environment and you have to learn step by step. Business is not very easy thing to do, but once you learn the basics, and then it goes faster and faster. You just need to find your path. It's possible, and even if you fail, just keep going. I published the book and here I am.
Thank you for the introduction. It's very interesting what you said about applying science to business, because there are some principles, especially in marketing, which I think marketing has stolen a little bit from science. But what was it that you tried to apply, and why didn't it work?
Um, I believe the mindset would be the first to mention because in science, whatever is new, it's already valued, it's already appreciated because this is science. No one is checking for the profit. But once you turn to a business and then they start to ask what was there for us, what is the profit, what is the margin, and then you are like, okay, this is completely new product. Why would you ask me anything like that? Just the example, I isolated the bacteria, which is not described only for the first time. It is the only one by now to be described in the world. But the first time when I talked to business people, they were like, can we sell it? And I was like, no, you cannot sell it. So that's the mindset that you have to shift once you come from pure science, where the knowledge and the innovation and the project, the idea is valued, versus the business where you talk only the language of numbers.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense. And I have heard about the profit motive being something which, although it's useful in certain instances, it's not useful in others. Um, what are, in your view, some of the things which people can learn from the scientific perspective that business hasn't picked up?
I believe knowledge is still very valued because this is something which is going quite crazy in the last 10 years, I believe. The encouragement not to go for like the university, for the college, and to learn the even any subject and just try the business. I am kind of in between. I believe every person has the right to decide. That's 100%. But to devalue the knowledge and the degrees and the education, I don't think that's very smart thing to do because where I am at the moment, everything comes from my knowledge. So when you apply the knowledge to business and then you convert and you unite, you do the experiment, even with the business, whatever I learned from science, how to structure the experiment, because you have to structure the experiment, how to run the experiment, how to exclude what doesn't work. It helped me tremendously in business, how to run the business, how to check whether the product works or no, how to change anything. So the principles are principle. I believe they are life and success principles. Whether you apply them in science, whether you apply them in business, you have to just simply adjust. But the knowledge is the base when you go for a particular field.
Okay, so I can certainly see why being informed about something would be useful. The opposite of that would be taking action without sufficient knowledge. Is that a fair interpretation?
That's so true to say because I unfortunately, and I will share the opinion of many scientists, where we see people spreading the information without even interpreting it correctly. And you look at that and you are like, okay, I believe the same is happening once scientists are trying to interpret the business, because the business people see everything through the finances and through the numbers. We don't see that part. So once we try to interpret the business, there is a mismatch. It's kind of, you realize that you don't speak what you don't know what you speak, frankly said. But you have to try. And once you realize that this is something which is the basic, this is the source. So don't try to change the source. Don't edit or change it the way which completely doesn't resonate with the source. And this is something I see a lot. Like people flip it and they present it in more or less innovative way, but it is so different from the source. So if I would encourage people just a little bit read the scientific paper, especially when you are trying to sit, when you are trying to present something that the scientists did, and then you change it and it makes no sense. And yeah, I would absolutely encourage people to go a little bit back to the source, especially if you are trying to present what was found in science.
Yeah, I don't know why it makes me think of this, but there is a there's a study that was done, I think, and it was if you play classical music to people, are they better at solving complex tasks? And that was the study. And people have repeated this study to mean that if you play classical music to babies in the womb, then they become more intelligent. So the change between where the study started and where people have regurgitated this complete is a fabrication essentially of what was the initial study.
I
But to
I
come
like
back,
the
go
I
ahead.
like the example, and I will say why. Because there is a huge nuance which is overlooked. Normally, which families are more like they would go to listen to the classic music. So the upbringing and the background is very important. When the family is used to listen to the classic music, it's a little bit different level. We cannot ignore that as well. So if people are struggling and they don't have enough money, let's say for food, they will definitely not go to listen to the classic music. So that's kind of the the difference that we cannot ignore. So the classic music is typical for people where the education and the degrees or the labels, more or less labels, are important, they are valued. That's where the families will go even to listen to the classic music, because it's not very typical for people to listen to the classic music. Do you know what I mean? Does it make sense? Everything comes to how curious you are. Whether you are in science, whether you are in business, whenever you have this open mindset and you don't limit yourself, and you go with, let's say, with one particular subject or the product which doesn't work, you have to adjust, you have to change, because you can spend your time and your life years for trying to prove something which doesn't work. Just simply don't beat that horse, so to say. If it doesn't work, change it. If you see that you failed, change it, adjust, try something else. Listen to people who succeeded, because if you don't listen to the advice, but then you have to also adjust and change for your particular case. But listen to what people say, especially if they succeeded.
Well, you mentioned something in your previous answer, which was about the fact that in your words, you said that you failed, but you've had a lot of time to reflect and think about why that was. So my question is, if you were to go back to that time and you had the knowledge that you have now, would the result be the same?
No, it would be so different. And I doubt any person would say that the results are going to be the same because I believe every person who succeeded, the first advice they would give, fail fast. I believe that's the best advice to ever hear in the world. Fail fast. Don't polish your idea. Don't sit on it. Don't think how amazing it's going to be. You would be amazed, even if you created kind of the product, because that happened to me many times. I had the idea about the product, and then I would spend the, let's say, 2 or 3 months. That's the difference with science, because you create your experiment in your head and then you just put on the paper and then you start to run the experiment. It is very different in business because in science, even if you get any new results, it's still publication. Whether it's successful publication or not, it's still publication. In business, it's different. If you fail, you lose money and then you go out of the business. So you cannot risk in business versus in science, you have more, let's say, time. It's not that you are not that short with the time. You will not be out of science if you didn't succeed with this experiment. You just show that this one didn't work or whatever results you got. But the business is different. So once you have the idea, don't polish it. Just simply go make the prototype. And while you prepare the prototype, sometimes the idea, the initial idea, and the product that you create might differ 90% because you start doing and then you realize, okay, this material which I thought is perfect for this product doesn't work. This combination doesn't work. People didn't like. And then you just flip, try, change, and bring to come to the point where you have the product people like, you like, and you can sell. It's so different. So fail fast. And fail fast doesn't mean sit on your idea and fail. This is procrastination. There is nothing that you failed, you procrastinated. Fail fast is don't polish something which doesn't work. Just leave it, change and see. If it still doesn't work, change the subject, change the product, change the service. Whatever you do, change it. If people don't like it, sometimes it could be the service. So I don't encourage people change the service. Let's say you are a business consultant. I'm not telling you go and become the mindset coach. No. But if you try to present your product with this webinar or with this seminar or with these words, how you talk to people and it doesn't work, it doesn't resonate, change it. Try to see what else works. This one failed. Don't sit for on your ideas and present the same thing all over for months. If it doesn't work, change it. Try something else. See what resonates better. Even sometimes the influencers who post the content, they encourage people to post the same content at the different time. Because if I start, let's say I go to check the LinkedIn, I don't see all the posts. I see the post which comes up the first. So there is a difference, the time difference between our part and between the other, like the east part and the west part. So if you post at this particular time, I might be sleeping. I will never see your content. So this is what it means. Try, fail, try, change, fail, whatever it worked. But don't say it didn't work unless you do the testing. This is something that I took from science, because in science, you don't just go and say, oh, I failed the experiment. You change it. You change one component, the concentration, the combination, anything you change and then you try. And it helped me tremendously in business because you take whatever you learn, how you experiment. Even at the moment we are trying one product, and when I try to explain people how they have to uh, test it, I always go, this is how we do in science. I never say, this is how you have to do. I always say, this is how you do the experiment in science. science. I still have this vocabulary, which I transferred from my past because I was in science for over 15 years. And then I apply here, but it helps also people to realize, what do I mean by testing? Because you give them the base. What is the reason why they have to test it? Why they have to change something? And then it's kind of reasoning, because this is how you do the science. And people still trust science.
Yeah, and I was under the interpretation that in science you don't necessarily refer to it as failure. It's simply a test. And so if you move that over to, I mean, I would specifically talk about it in marketing. If you run a test, you haven't necessarily failed. You've just got the data back to tell you whether or not, you know, a particular outcome has been met or not. And then you can test again if you want to. But I do like the principle of speed. I think it's a good one in business. You did mention that some of these principles are also beneficial in life. So, have you got any examples or any thoughts about how people can use that in their life in general?
Whenever you do the testing, you have to have the system. If you just run the testing without reasoning why you do the testing, you cannot use the failing results. You perfectly mentioned that you didn't fail, you got the results. So you tried, but if you don't have the system, you will lose the lesson that you learned previously. Because then what is the backup? Why did you lose? Why did you fail? So have the system. It's not only for science, it's real for business as well. Don't just go and test for no reason without even realizing why do you test it? What is the result? So the main idea, what is the result that you intend for? The same is for science. You don't just go and do the experiment. You have the hypothesis and then you try to prove whether it worked or not. The difference between science and business. In science, you can have the hypothesis and you prove that it didn't work, and it still work. In business, it doesn't work that way. You fail, that's it. Period. You failed, you lost. But in science, it's a bit different. So that's the mindset people have to shift as well, because I believe people have that kind of the approach to when they are testing something, but they don't realize, if you don't have the final result, what is the result that you want to have, you will fail all the time without realizing, what did you fail? What did you fail? Not why did you fail? That's the next step. Why did you fail? But what did you fail? If you failed, let's say, to monetize, then that's completely different. Why? If you fail to see many likes, then that's completely different. Why? Because the approach to go back and to fix it depends on the result. What did you want as a result? If you don't have that link between, which is the system, what you do, why you do it, how to measure it. If you don't have the system in place, you will think that it didn't work out. It didn't work out. While it didn't work out, whether you don't have the system or you were not pointing at the at the problem that you want to solve. And I'm not talking about the problem from the customer perspective. What's the problem you are trying to solve for yourself? Like, do you want to monetize? Do you want to sell? Do you want to get the likes? Do you want people to see your content? What is the result that you want?
It's almost like a clinical, emotionless uh, approach to it, where if you have a hypothesis in business or in life or something and you go and test it, it's almost the case that you don't have to be emotionally invested in it. You just adjust your approach, and that does resonate with me. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I
As
can't
business
help but
people always say, there is nothing personal, it's business. In science, it's a bit different because it's more personal. It's not there is an element of professional, but still it's more personal because in science you don't try to monetize. Science is when it's not applied science. I mean, when it's pure science, it's emotional. There you want to find something new which you think is valuable. Once you try to convert to business, then you crash because you thought, oh my goodness, this is very new, it's going to change the life of people. And then business people are like, no, it's not going to work. And you're like, what do you mean? And that's the conflict that you have to adjust. But if you keep repeating the same as, no, it's valuable, you have to see the value, and business people don't see it, you will fail. That's what you have to test even the product, whether it works in business. What you think and how it will work out could be not only 100% different. It could be so much different that you would be amazed. And the 100% difference is when you just drop the product and start something else.
Okay, well that's takes me nicely onto the next topic, which is I can see in the background about the comfort zone. Is that something that you'd like to share a little bit about?
Yes, I believe that directly relates to a failing because I was amazed when I read for the first time comfort zone, you have to quit the comfort zone. And I was like, okay, if you keep telling or naming some things, the zone, whatever, to be a comfort zone, and you are unhappy, unhealthy, and unfulfilled because you don't live your full potential, why would you call it comfort zone? What is the signal that you send to your brain that you are comfortable to be unhappy? Then why would your brain try to quit the zone? Because you already sent the command, I am comfortable to be unhappy, unhealthy, and unfulfilled. You will sabotage any your attempt to quit the comfort zone because that's where the conflict is. If you call the zone to be a comfort zone and you are unhappy, your brain doesn't read, oh, wait, she's confused. He's confused. So there is a conflict. No, you create the conflict. And because we live most of our time of our life unconsciously, so you generate the biochemistry which creates this conflict, but it doesn't read as conflict because you create the biochemistry and you keep telling yourself, I'm fine with this biochemistry. I'm comfortable. I'm in my comfort zone. And you would be amazed how I was shocked to see that people think of their comfort zone as something physical, like the place where they live. And I always bring this example. If you don't like something in your room, in your place, what do you do with that? I remove it. So why do you keep it in your comfort zone? Polish it, change it, remove it. Why do you keep telling, this is my comfort zone, I have to quit? Polish your comfort zone. Don't quit. Change it. If you don't like, so the idea is don't try to quit anything. Just change it. Then your brain will realize, okay, it's not that I need to quit my comfort zone. I need to change what I am comfortable with. Then it makes sense for your brain. Your brain is like, oh, okay. Then you give the command which can be accomplished. But when you keep telling yourself, I have to quit your comfort zone, this is something that you have to overcome. And for many people, they would sabotage. But if you say, okay, I am uncomfortable to be unhealthy. So this is the kind of the decision that I want to make. I'm uncomfortable to be unhealthy. So what I have to do, I have to remove this food. You are still staying in your comfort zone. You don't quit, but you polish, you clean, you remove the things which are not beneficial for you. They don't serve you. So it doesn't need to be necessarily quitting your comfort zone. change what is in your comfort zone. What do you take as comfortable? Don't take to be unfulfilled or not living your potential fully as to be in comfort zone. And that's it.
It's a great answer. And it kind of strikes me as one of those things which, depending on how you phrase it, it's like you're making it difficult for yourself before you've even started.
Because if you associate your the comfort zone with your physical presence and you create this idea that you have to quit and you don't spend enough time to realize what does that mean, because quit is quit. This is how your brain reads the words. So if you keep reminding yourself, I have to quit, you start, many people unconsciously, they start to think, I have to quit where I live. I have to quit the city. I have to quit the country or anything, whatever you associate. I don't know how you interpret the word, but you send the emotions, you send the information and you have the emotion. And sometimes the emotion trigger the biochemistry, which will sabotage you right before you even try. But if you stop telling it, this is comfort zone. Okay, this is my comfort zone and I don't want to quit. I just want to reshape it. I want to change what I have in my comfort zone. What do I associate the word comfort with? Then everything changes.
Do you, in your work in the book, do you go away from the phrase comfort zone completely, or do you use the phrase, I'd be more comfortable with something different?
In my book, the technique that I describe, it's because I was going through really very hard times. I quit science, then I lost my dad, then another life-changing circumstance in our family happened, then my personal trauma, then I moved to live to the different country, continent even, where I didn't know anyone. So I was going and everything was happening 6 months apart. So my body was just demanding to do me a little bit weird thing. Then when I went back, because I was in science for 15 years, so I do perfectly the research. So I went back and I started to read because I felt something was changing inside of me. So I started to read and I realized that there is a science behind what I did. So I actually didn't quit my comfort zone. I made my so-called comfort zone so uncomfortable that I didn't even question that I want to quit, so-called quit. This is what I mean. Change what is in your comfort zone. Don't quit. Don't decide anything. Just change what surrounds you. But I made it the opposite because I made it so uncomfortable that I wouldn't even question to quit it. It was so uncomfortable. Why? Because most of our time when we live unconsciously, we go, let's say, to work where we are unhappy and we decide that we want to start our own business. What do we do in the evening? Because we had already stressful day, so we decide that we need some reward. We need to distract ourselves, and we go for some particular activities, whether it's a meeting with friends, whether it's just only to go to some social event, or social media is huge at the moment. But what we don't realize, we still feel our body with particular biochemistry because our body reacts with to any emotion that the event triggers in us. And at the end of the day, we have all the colors, so-called all the colors of the emotions that we lived during the day. And we go from one day to the next day, and at the end of the day we go to sleep, we nullify our biochemistry and we start all over again without realizing that we do the same thing. So it is just simply masked with different, let's say we see different people, we think it's a different thing. It's the same thing. You do the same thing all over again and you expect different results. Unfortunately, people normally, when they hear this phrase, they think it's something physical. So if I check different video, it's different. No, it's the same. So once you flip that and you see the reality, it's not different. When the phrase goes, it's nonsense to do the same thing and to expect different results. This is what people mean, successful people. If you go to social media and you check the funny videos, or you just read the content, or you just watched another movie, what is changing? Nothing. You don't change. You do the same thing. This is the base for my technique that I developed. I haven't done anything different. I did everything the same just to nullify. And then when I realized the particular changes were happening in me, I went back and I read the literature. I was like, oh wow, okay, I didn't realize what I was doing. I nullified my biochemistry and I flipped what was uncomfortable and comfortable for me. But before you nullify your biochemistry, especially if you go through the day which is full with the events and you keep fooling your body with the different biochemistry, because this is something that I realized while I was going. It's a little bit new. Per day, we have particular, let's call it tank, like the enoughness for feelings. That's why when there are some negative news that comes at you, you are like, that's enough. I can't take it anymore. Because we have particular limit to take any emotion per day. So if you give your body all the time the idea that this is a new video, you will keep faking that you do new things. And you fill your body with the biochemistry of, let's call innovation. So you, without realizing, you go from one day to another, so-called doing new things, but you do the same thing and you fool your body with the biochemistry of innovation, which is not. But at the end of the year, what do? We have the same list, which we transfer from one year to another year, and we go the same day again and again, and we keep convincing ourselves that we do different thing. I go to different meeting. No, you go to the same meeting. It's just only different people. It's the mask that you have to remove from what's happening and see the truth behind it. You do the same thing. There is no difference unless you change how you see the world and what is the fake, what is the real, what is the full, what is fulfilled. Because in the book, I have one chapter which is called Fulfilled Life, but it is not fulfilled, which everybody wants to live. It's fulfilled with FOOL, because that's what the life that we live. Fulfilled life. We keep fulfilling our body with the biochemistry, which is fulfilling with FOOL. It's fulfilling us. We fake the real life. That's unfortunate. We fake the real life and we don't realize it. We pretend and we fake too a lot. That's unfortunate. And that's what you have to change.
Great answer. I particularly like the psychology behind scrolling on social media, getting some sort of new video, but it's actually the same behavior over and over again. That's a very refreshing way to look at sort of existing behavior. So thank you for sharing that.
Why it happens, and if you feel that as well, so more, especially for the positive emotion, right? If you go with the negative emotion, you just need one article about the politics or what's happening in the world, and you go with one paragraph, and that's more than enough. You can't take it anymore. But with the positive, what happens? Because it doesn't fulfill you, there is no limit, because you don't get enough. You don't reach your limit for the positive emotion with something which doesn't give that intention for the emotion that you are searching for. That's why instead of changing, we go for more, more, more. We just keep filling the complete tank drop by drop. And it takes the complete day, month, and then a year. And we go from 1 year to another, again, filling our tank drop by drop. Flip it, change it.
Are you proud of what you created in your book?
I am very proud what I created, and I need to bring it more to the masses for them to read, because the reason even I started all this not investigation still, I needed to let the past go, and I couldn't. And every time when I would go for the video with the motivational speakers that you need to let go, I would become more frustrated, and I would be like, stop telling that I need to let go. Stop it. It would frustrate me, and I would just cling and be more stuck with what I needed to let go. The past, I couldn't let it go for really very long time, for 3 years. But the second I realized what I needed to let go, it was 1 second. 1 second, but it took me 3 years to realize what I needed to let go. So once you start to go back, what do you let go? The past? No, you will never, unless it's easy for you. I'm not talking about people who are very easygoing, like they don't stuck and they don't procrastinate. So the book is not for them. The book is for people who are perfect to procrastinate. They are stuck in their comfort zone and they cannot let the past go. Before you realize what particular you let go, and actually once you find the answer for that question, you realize that everything that happened in your past was based on that particular thing, which you just carried through your life, through decades. And once you go back and you find out what is the answer, what do you need to let go? It's 1 second. 1 second you let it go. It took me 3 years to come to
Well,
that.
well done. I'm glad that you did. For people who want to buy the book, where do they go?
It's on Amazon. I encourage people, if you are stuck, especially if you go the full-time job and you are unhappy and you feel that there is a potential and you want to start your the business or a side hustle, anything, but you want to change, to radically change your life, go and read, learn how to flip and make your comfort zone so uncomfortable that you will run from your comfort zone. You will not quit. You will run from your comfort zone. And there is another thing as well. You will never want to be back. So that's the difference. If you go and you try to convince yourself that you have to be uncomfortable particular time, and then you keep in your memory that this is my comfort zone and here I have to be uncomfortable, you will slide back because you keep the memory about your comfort zone as comfort zone. But you have to flip it and make your comfort zone so uncomfortable that you will never slide back because you don't want. So that's the technique, how to flip and to make your so-called comfort zone so uncomfortable that you will not question to go back.
Okay. Well, congratulations on your book, and thank you very much for being a great guest today.
Thank you for inviting. And yeah, I hope it will help people and we will see more and more, especially people who are entrepreneurial, they have that spirit. We need you. We need to balance what's happening, the craziness that is happening in the world, and more corporations take advantage of the situation in the world. So if you have that spirit, don't sit on it, don't sleep on it, wake it up, create the more working spaces, and bring more people to your company. Even if it is small, 5 people, you change the life of 5 families. Don't think if it is 5 people, it's small. Anything, the drop is small, but the ocean is created from billions of drops. So even if you change one life, the idea to publish the book, even if it changes one life, it's already my mission. Don't think that if you change life of one person, it's small. It's still one life. Value it. Thank you very much, and I hope it will help.
Thanks, Axa.